You ever just stop and think about the sheer power it takes to build our world? From those towering skyscrapers to the massive ships in our ports, it all happens thanks to industrial cranes, the quiet giants doing all the heavy lifting. But with that kind of power comes a huge amount of risk. So today we're going to dive in and uncover the single most important number that keeps all that power in check.
I mean, just look at these machines. Gantry cranes like this one, they're absolute titans. They completely dominate our ports and our biggest construction sites, moving thousands of tons around like it's nothing. They really are the backbone of global trade and industry. Just a stunning display of raw mechanical power.
But hey, it's not just about these giant outdoor monsters. Let's bring it inside for a second. In pretty much any factory, warehouse, or workshop, you're going to find an overhead crane that looks something like this. Now, they might be smaller, but they are every bit as crucial. They're like the arteries that keep production and logistics flowing. And the key thing is, the principles of power and safety are exactly the same.
So this brings us to the big question, right? With all this force lifting tons of material, often right over people and expensive equipment, what is the one safety feature that matters more than anything else? What's the one thing that prevents a catastrophic failure?
You might be thinking it's the brakes, or maybe the strength of that big hook or the wire rope. And yeah, all those things are incredibly important, but they aren't the answer. The most critical safety feature actually comes down to something much, much simpler. Just one number.
And here it is, the rated load. This is the absolute maximum weight the crane is engineered to lift safely. And let me be clear, this is not a suggestion or a guideline. It's a hard limit. It's calculated based on the crane's structure, its brakes, all its key parts. Basically, this number is the foundation for every single safe lift.
And this isn't just a good idea, it's the law. In the United States, OSHA, that's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, has a very specific rule that covers this. So let's pull back the curtain and see what the official rulebook says. So here are the requirements, and what's interesting is just how clear and non-negotiable they are. The rated load has to be marked plainly on each side of the crane. It has to be permanent and easy to read. And, this is a big one, if the crane has more than one hoist, say a main one and a smaller one, each of those has to be marked with its own capacity. The whole point is simple, zero ambiguity for the operator.
So why all the fuss? Well, because ignoring this one number can kick off a terrifying domino effect of failure. Overloading is one of the biggest causes of crane accidents. It can make the brakes fail, snap the wire rope, or even cause the entire structure to just buckle and collapse. The consequences of a dropped load are, well, they're horrifying.
And this is a really common misunderstanding. That number you see on the side of the crane, that's for a perfect lift in ideal conditions. It does not account for the extra stress you get from things like sudden starts and stops. That's called shock loading, or from pulling a load at an angle, which is side loading. Those kinds of things add immense stress that the rated load number just isn't designed to handle. Rules and regulations can feel a little abstract sometimes. So let's look at a real-world scenario to see what happens when these simple markings get overlooked. This is a story about just how quickly things can go wrong. Okay, so here's the play-by-play. You have a crane with a main hoist and a smaller 1-ton auxiliary hoist. An operator needs to move a 3-ton load, and he mistakenly uses the little auxiliary hoist. So now you have a hoist being asked to lift 3 times its limit. Of course, it fails catastrophically. The 3-ton load comes crashing down to the floor, causing huge damage and just barely missing somebody. A true near miss.
So what really went wrong here? When you trace it back, the root causes are crystal clear. The marking for that small hoist wasn't easily visible. The operator hadn't been fully trained on the different hoist capacities, and that crucial check before making the lift, it just got skipped. See, this wasn't really an accident. It was a preventable failure.
And this brings it all back to the people on the ground. Safety isn't just a rule in a book. It's an active, shared responsibility for everyone on the worksite. So let's break down how that responsibility is divided up.
It's really a partnership. The employer's duty is to provide safe equipment, which means making sure those markings are there, they're visible, and operators are trained. But the operator, they are the final critical link in that safety chain. It's their responsibility to check the rated load before every single lift, to never go over capacity, and to speak up immediately if a marking is missing, damaged, or unreadable. If you're not sure, you stop the lift, period.
This quote from the source material just says it all, doesn't it? The operator's eyes are the final safety check. That visible number is their confirmation that the lift they're about to make is safe. You take away that visibility, and you introduce a massive, completely unacceptable risk. So, when it all comes down to it, checking that one number isn't a chore. It's a simple, life-saving habit that takes just a second. And it doesn't matter if you're the operator, the supervisor, or just someone working near a crane, understanding why that number is so important is key. So I'll just leave you with this. Is that check part of your routine? It absolutely has to be.